So the north-south corridor is located on the east side of the city, and it runs from 35 to State Road 39. And I want to make a few introductions tonight. So with us tonight is Mayor Dermody from the City of LaPorte, Nick Minnick from the City of LaPorte, City Engineer, and then from the county we have Commissioner Haney in the room, and the mayor and the commissioner will be here after this meeting, so if you'd like to speak with them as well, they'll be available. And we also have, I believe, Mitch Bishop, who is the county planner, here tonight, and I think Jay Sullivan, the county engineer, was going to be available. And then from our staff, I'm Susan Albus, and I'm the project principal for this study. And Ruth Hook is our project manager, and she's going to get up in just a little bit and talk you through the project and the study and provide the information that we're trying to share tonight and gain information back from all of you. In addition, we have other staff available in the room that will be positioned at the different maps that will help facilitate any questions for you. And then the partners that we work with on a project like this are the Indiana Department of Transportation, Federal Highway, in addition to your MPO in this area, which is the Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission. So the items that Ruth is going to cover tonight, she's going to talk about the project history. This project's been studied multiple times over the years. She's going to review the corridor analysis that was performed on the alternatives for this corridor, which I think some of you have already looked at tonight. In addition, she's going to talk about the preferred alternative that's coming out of this study, and talk about the screening methodology that went into looking at the different routes. So, next steps. So, to talk about just what's going to happen tonight, after the formal presentation, you're going to have an opportunity to go back, ask some questions, look at the maps again. During an information meeting, there's no formal comment period. That will actually happen later during this study at another public meeting that you'll be able to attend. So we want to get information back from you tonight. We want to share information and get information so we can find out what are your thoughts about this corridor. So in order to get that, we have comment forms that are on these two tables in the back of the room. So you can fill those comment forms out tonight. You can take them home and fill them out and send them to us. You can email us your comment. There's also a project website that if you would like, you can go onto that website and send a comment to us that way. So there are lots of means of ways to get us the information. So the comment period is going to be open for a 30-day period, and it ends May 14th. So please make sure you get us your comments and your thoughts. And with that, I'm going to actually hand it over to Ruth, and she's going to talk about this project. So just so you're aware, since we are limited due to COVID restrictions, there are other folks that weren't able to be here tonight, and they're watching this through virtual means. So Ruth, based on federal highway guidelines, she has to stick to a very strict script. So I just wanted to let you know that before she gets started. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, and welcome tonight. I'm so excited to see so many people turn out, and I'm glad we were able to accommodate everybody who did turn out. I want to welcome everybody who is viewing this virtually. I hope the information is informative and what you came to hear. As Susan said, I do have to kind of follow the same script. We do have a pre-recorded version of this presentation that has been shared on our YouTube. It's available on the project website. So because of that, we want to make sure all the same information is presented to anybody who was able to attend tonight, as well as those who were not able to attend. So why are we here? The City of LaPorte and the county want to develop a safe, reliable, and efficient integrated and multimodal transportation system that promotes access, mobility, and economic development. Reduction in traffic in downtown LaPorte will provide a safe, livable, walkable community center, which will result in improved safety. The project team has analyzed the alternatives, identified those that best meet the needs of the project, while minimizing impacts on the human and the natural environment. These alternatives are being recommended to be carried forward into the environmental document for further analysis and preliminary design. Currently, the project team is working through the environmental process. Due to the use of federal funds, the project must follow the National Environmental Policy Act that requires the evaluation of design multiple alternatives as well as the no-build alternative. We have multiple alternatives that we did study for this project. For this project, the environmental document requires review by both INDOT and the Federal Highway Administration. Following the completion of the environmental process, the project will move into preliminary design, right-of-way acquisition, and then construction and project completion. Initial studies identified 2 broadband corridors in which alternatives should be developed. With input from the city, the county, and other members of the community and project stakeholders, the project team identified 4 southern and 3 northern alternatives. These alternatives were presented to the public at the 2018 Public Information Meeting. Following that 2018 Public Information Meeting, the project team, in coordination with the city and the county, developed a 5th southern alternative, which is a hybrid of 2 of the other southern alternatives. These 8 alternatives were included in the alternative screening document and will be presented here tonight. You should have a copy of the screening document. You also should have a copy of this presentation. If you are having a hard time reading the text, you can follow along. All 8 alternatives evaluated in the alternative screening document depart State Road 2 at the same location, to the east of Boyd Boulevard. The 5 southern alternatives tie into US 35 on the south side of the city of LaPorte in many different locations. The 3 northern alternatives depart State Road 2 and tie into US 35, State Road 39 at 3 different locations, being Seavers Road, County Road 300 North, and just south of Interstate 80. The locations of interchanges, overpasses, and underpasses, as well as roadway terminations, have not yet been identified. These elements will be identified during the next phase and evaluated during the preliminary design. So going into our alternatives, we have alternative A1, which involves new roadway construction starting at State Road 2 and extending southwest until it ties into existing Boyd Boulevard. This alternative will involve improvements to Boyd Boulevard until Boyd Boulevard's termination at US 35. The estimated length is 3.43 miles. Alternative A2 involves new roadway construction that starts at State Road 2, extends southeast until near Division Road, where it turns southwest. The new construction will continue southwest until it ties into existing Boyd Boulevard, and Boyd Boulevard will be upgraded until US 35. The estimated length is 3.81 miles. Alternative A3 is an all-new roadway construction starting at State Road 2 and extending southwest until Division Road, or southeast, I'm sorry. The new construction then turns south, just south of State Road 4, where it will turn southwest. The new construction will continue southwest until it ties into US 35 north of Boyd Boulevard. The estimated length is 3.65 miles. Alternative A2, A4 is the hybrid alternative. It will involve new roadway construction that extends southeast from State Road 2, then curves southwest at Division Road. The new construction will continue southwest until it connects to US 35 just north of Boyd Boulevard. The estimated length of A2, A4 is 4.03 miles. And finally, for our southern alternatives, we have alternative A4. It will be all new construction starting at State Road 2 and extending southeast, then curving southwest just east of County Road 150 East. The new construction continues southwest and then turns west until it connects to US 35 south of Boyd Boulevard. The estimated length of A4 is 4.99 miles. For our northern alternatives, we have the three. We have Severs Road, which involves upgrading and widening existing Severs Road and County Road 200 North from the intersection with State Road 39 to just east of Genesis Drive, where the alternative then curves southeast and new roadway construction begins. The new roadway will tie into State Road 2. The estimated length is 2.76 miles. Alternative C1 involves upgrading and widening of existing County Road 300 North from the intersection with State Road 39 to its end where a new roadway construction will begin. And it will continue east until near County Road 50 West, where it turns south and heads southwest until it ties into State Road 2. The estimated length is 3.68 miles. Alternative C2 is an all-new roadway construction starting at State Road 39 south of Interstate 80 and continuing east to County Road 50 West, where it curves south and continues southeast until it ties into State Road 2. The estimated length is approximately 4.5 miles. So those are the 8 alternatives that were designed. We did also have to evaluate some other alternatives as part of the screening document. These 2 additional alternatives involved the upgrading of US 35 and State Road 39 within the same limits. The southern US 35 upgrade would improve existing US 35 from south of Boyd Boulevard until its intersection with State Road 2 and will match the footprint of the other alternatives. The northern US 35 and State Road 39 upgrade alternative would improve existing US 35 and State Road 39 from the intersection with State Road 2 to Interstate 80 and will match the footprint of the other alternatives. The final alternative included in the screening document is the no-build alternative, which would involve no improvements to any existing roads or the construction of any new roadways. So all of these alternatives would consist of the combination of 2 typical footprints. Within the urban areas, the footprint would be approximately 100 feet wide, have 2 12-foot travel lanes in each direction with a 16-foot center turn lane. A 10-foot multi-use path will be constructed on either side of the roadway. The speed limit within the urban sections would be 35 miles per hour. The rural footprint would be approximately 160 feet wide and have 2 12-foot travel lanes separated by a 60-foot median. A 10-foot multi-use path would be constructed on either side of the roadway. The speed limit within the rural sections would be 55 miles per hour. The alternative screening document looked at a multitude of ecological, cultural, and community resources. This involved reviewing the best and most recent GIS data. The resources that were evaluated are listed on the screen. They came from a variety of different sources. Using this data allowed the project team to get a broad understanding of the potential impacts within the project area. The full alternative screening document was made available here tonight and is also available on the project website. A hard copy can be requested using the contact information at the end of this presentation or via the project website. Next, we will review the results of the alternatives analysis for those resources that did inform the decision-making process. The goal of the analysis is to provide the best balance to the natural, social, and human environment. Evaluating impacts to water resources was an important part of the alternative screening. On the left side of the screen, you can see the impacts related to the southern alternatives, which are the A alternatives. On the right side of the screen, you can see the results for the northern alternatives, the Severs Road and C alternatives. For the southern alternatives, we saw a wide range of potential impacts based on whether any portion was upgrading an existing roadway or was one of the ones that required new roadway construction. Overall, the alternative that upgrades existing US 35 and alternative A2, A4 would likely have the fewest impacts to wetland resources. For streams along the southern alternative, the alternative upgrading US 35 and alternative A1 will have the fewest impacts on streams. For the northern alternatives, the Severs Road alternative and alternative C1 are likely to have the fewest impacts to wetland resources. For stream resources, the Severs Road alternative and alternative C2 and upgrading of US 35 and State Road 39 would have the least impacts on streams. It should be noted that the development of the environmental document will require further field investigations to identify and verify any wetland, open water, stream resource within the preferred alternatives. This is likely to result in different impacts than were identified here because of field observations typically offer more detail than a review of digital sources. All efforts to avoid and minimize impacts will be taken during the development of the project. There are two resources identified here. The two tables on the top of the slideshow are cultural resources. Cultural resources include any properties, districts, and archaeological sites that are listed on or eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places, otherwise known as the National Register or the NRHP. The National Register is a federal list of district sites, buildings, structures, and objects deemed worthy of preservation due to their historical significance. For southern alternatives, there were few cultural resources along the alternatives. The alternative with the greatest likelihood to impact cultural resources would be the alternative that upgrades US 35 due to the resources in historic downtown LaPorte. We see similar pattern for the northern alternatives. The alternative that would upgrade existing US 35 and State Road 39 would likely result in the greatest impact to cultural resources. Recreation facilities includes parks, trails, and any other additional resource that is publicly available for use. The two tables at the bottom of the slide identify the recreational facilities in the project area. Alternative A1 is the only southern alternative with a recreational facility that may be impacted by the proposed project, while three of the southern alternatives, A2, A3, and A4 would cross trails and would cause a potential impact. All of the northern alternatives have the potential to impact trails, and the alternative that upgrades existing US 35 and State Road 39 and alternative C2 also have recreational facilities along their routes. For affected parcels, the goal of the document is to identify alternatives that would best balance impacts to the natural, human, and social environment. To evaluate the human environment impact, the project team reviewed county parcel lines and the most recent aerials to identify properties that could be affected by the proposed project. For the southern alternatives, we found that those which upgrade any existing facility resulted in greater impacts to parcels due to the developed nature of these routes. A similar pattern emerged for the northern alternatives. As the project moves forward, the project team will continue to adjust the alignment of the preferred alternatives to minimize impacts to the greatest extent possible. As design progresses, the team will better be able to identify potential impacts and discuss it at the time. But at this time, details on specific impacts to specific parcels is not known. So, using the information identified in the alternative screening document, along with discussions with the project team, the project sponsors, and project partners, it is recommended that 2 southern alternatives and 1 northern alternative be carried forward into the environmental document for further evaluation and design. Alternatives A3 and A2, A4 are the southern alternatives recommended to be carried forward, while alternative C2 is the northern alternative that is recommended. Now that the preferred alternatives have been identified, the project moves into the development of the environmental document. The project has been awarded funding from the Federal Highway Administration through an 80-20 match program. This means 80% of the project funding is coming from the Federal Highway Administration, while the remaining 20% is a partnership between the city and the county. For the north-south corridor, the Federal Highway Administration is requiring the completion of an environmental assessment. This type of environmental document requires a formal decision from the Federal Highway Administration on the environmental consequences of the project. The project is early in the decision-making process. While the recommended preferred alternatives have been identified, no decision on the final alignment or impacts have been made. Further input on the recommended preferred alternatives is wanted. There will be continued engagement with the public through stakeholder meetings and meetings with representatives of the public to gather additional feedback. As part of the environmental phase, a public hearing will take place near the end of the environmental document process. This hearing will afford members of the public the opportunity to provide formal comment statements on the environmental document and the proposed project. The public hearing for the north-south corridor is anticipated to occur near the end of 2021. Following the public hearing, the Federal Highway Administration will issue the decision on the project. A finding of no significant impact is anticipated. This finding will conclude the environmental phase. The decision is anticipated to occur early in 2022. However, should the project partners in INDOT and the Federal Highway Administration decide that the project warrants additional investigations, the project could be elevated to an environmental impact statement, which would require the completion of additional studies. The project has been broken down into 6 phases for design and construction. The table on the screen shows the anticipated cost per phase, assuming design and construction of a 4-lane roadway. The cost estimates are preliminary. As the project and design progress, project costs will be better defined. It is important to remember that the project funding is a partnership between the City of LaPorte, LaPorte County, and the Federal Highway Administration. So how to comment? The project team really does thank you guys for being here tonight. We do want input from you as members of the public. This is a project for you, hosted by your representatives. And we want to thank you for attending the meeting. Following tonight's public information meeting, comments will be accepted for approximately 30 days. The final date for comments is May 14th. However, that's not a hard and fast date. If we get some comments into the following week, they will of course be accepted. There will be no formal comment session this evening. We are soliciting all comments in writing. Comment forms are available at many locations, including here tonight. You should have gotten one when you signed in. They are also available on the project website, which is www.laportecorridor.com. They are also at the city building and the county complex. Comments can be emailed or mailed to myself with Lockmuller Group. In addition, comments may be left at the city and the county buildings. Finally, you may submit comments through the project website using the Contact Us section. We welcome all feedback on the information presented here tonight, as well as on the alternatives recommended to be carried forward into the environmental document. To continue to receive project information and updates, please visit the project website, www.laportecorridor.com. On the website, you can provide comment using the contact section and request to be added to the email contact list. Following tonight's public information meeting, a recording of the meeting will be uploaded to the website. It will also be available on the City of LaPorte's Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can always check the project website for any project updates, including mapping information and announcements. Again, my contact information is on the screen. It's also what was in the public notice. Please send me your comments, your questions. Like I said, we are pretty preliminary in where we are, so specific questions may not be able to be answered at this time, but we do want to welcome all input from you guys. We appreciate you attending tonight. And with that, I will conclude the formal presentation section of this meeting, and we'll go into the informal session. The meeting will go on for about 45 minutes until 7:30. Thank you for attending. I would also like to note that Commissioner Rosinski and Sheila Matthias are watching via the Zoom. We welcome them. I think there were a couple other elected officials that were able to join us via the Zoom. Again, thank you for coming out tonight.